Hello everyone. Welcome back to the channel. My name is Inde and I'm your bookworm. And today we do not have a book review. We will have slightly different content, and we'll be going back to a big series here on the channel, my favorite fantasy series, which is Wheel of Time. And today I am going through a tier rank list of Wheel of Time characters. So I'll be sharing my screen, just going through it, see where I place characters so you can have an idea what my favorite characters are, and so that we can just chat a bit about Wheel of Time, because it's been a long time since we had any Wheel of Time content here, and also just talk about my characters and what do you think of the characters. So let's get going. All right, so I don't know if you know this tier rank list. It's very famous. A lot of people have used it, and also here on YouTube, so you've probably seen it. I'm gonna have a little caveat on this, which is I'm gonna limit the number of characters I can put in each one of the tiers, starting with 6, then 10, 13, 15, 17, and 20. So that I really limit who I need to put at the top. And of course, there's going to be a lot of characters, as you will see, that are just not that relevant, so they will fall on the bottom tiers. But let's get this started. So we start with Agelmar, which is one of the 5 generals. I mean, he was okay. He wasn't one of my favorite ones. I would probably put him on maybe C. Yeah, I think I'll put it for C. C for now. Agenor, I mean, he didn't really show up much as Agenor. This is going to be very spoilery, by the way, because we're going to have characters that show up only towards the end of the series, so I will need to talk about details regarding them or why I dislike them. So just beware, this is going to be spoilery. If you don't want to hear any spoilers, you want to just know what my opinions on the books, then you can go through the book reviews. I'm going to put some of them here on the cards and on the thumbnails, and you can just follow around. But so, Agenor, we really only see him on the first book until he resurrects later on. So he didn't really do much. He was scary at the start when you read about him, because he's half decomposed, he's still alive, he seems to be in a lot of pain. But aside from that, it's a very brief appearance. So I think I'm gonna put it on probably D. As for Alana, I have a special hate for Alana. I think she is a good character, but I really don't like her bonding Rand without his permission, and I think that is a big violation. But aside from that, I think she's a good character. I think they're giving a lot more emphasis and depth to her in this series. I think that's good, especially if they will eventually make her bond Rand. I think that will make it a bigger betrayal than what it was in the books, which it was still pretty big, and I still think it was very violating. But as for now, I think I'm gonna put her, yeah, yeah, let's start with B. Olivia. Olivia is one of the most powerful channelers of the story, and she does have a role mostly in the later books. She doesn't show up much. I think it's an interesting detail. I'm not gonna say it's a good detail towards the end, how she's involved in Rand's death. But aside from that, she does a bit, but not that much. So I'm gonna put her on, for now, C. I'm being very conservative at the moment. Eventually, I'm gonna have to start going up. But for now, yeah, I think she's gonna go on C. Okay, now as for Aludra, the Illuminator that follows Matt around, or Matt follows her around. I don't know which way it goes. She's fun. She is involved in quite a bit, and she shows up throughout the series, which is good in some way. But I think she's not that great. I'll put her in C as well. Definitely less than Olivia. Actually, I think I'm gonna put Olivia above Agelmar. I like her more than Agelmar. Aludra is, yeah, she's okay. She has a good role, but it's not that amazing. Now, Alviarin, one of the most critical Aes Sedai in the series. I really enjoyed her. I think she has a really good role, and you can see how she changes as her plans start kind of falling apart, and she stops being seen as one of the top in the food chain, and starts having a decay, especially when Egwene gets into the tower again. So I think her trajectory was quite good. I'm gonna put her above Alviarin, above Alana, I mean, and yeah, I think she's gonna be there for now. Now, Androl. Androl is an Ashaman involved mostly again in the later books. He is a channeler that can create gateways very easily, but doesn't really have much power doing other types of weaves. His story, I think it's interesting, but it's very short and it's very restricted to the later books. It doesn't really impact much outside of that. It was just kind of a plot line that was devised to close the big Black Tower plot lines. So because of that, I think he is a good character. I like how he was represented. I'm gonna put him probably probably above Agomar, but below Olivia. Now, Erengah, which is one of the Forsaken Reborn. I think this was very well done in the sense that we have a character that we thought was dead and then suddenly they're revived, which completely shifts the power balance because suddenly we're like, uh-oh, what we thought was dead before, they can come back. And so this is a big advantage to the dark side because they can simply keep reviving them as long as the Dark One is still liking them or they are still in the Dark One's favor. But yeah, it shifts a lot. And Ironguard has a very interesting role, even though it doesn't show up like very frequently, but the role that Ironguard has is quite prevalent throughout the book, especially when she shows up and starts doing her actions of creating more mistrust or completely shifting the power between people or creating headaches, for example. So all of those may seem small things, but they are quite pivotal throughout the series. So I think I'm gonna put her in the B, probably. Do I like her more than Alana? I kind of do. Alana towards the end is very whiny. Yeah, I'm gonna put her here. Asmodean is another one of the Forsaken, one of the more meh, I think. I mean, he had a role in teaching Rand. He was okay. He was funny sometimes. He didn't show up much. I don't think he has that big of a role, so I'm gonna put him. I'm gonna put him above Aguinaldo, but yeah, below Ludra for sure. Now, one of the main characters, Avienda. I like Avienda. I think she was one of the characters I grew the most in my reread because I was understanding her more and her frustrations in trying to teach Rand the way of the Aiel and just seeing her growth, especially when she's trying to become a wise one and she needs to understand that she needs to kind of own it and step up and not take it anymore from the wise ones. I think that part was very well done. I like her. She is not one of my top favorites, but I think she is definitely on the S tier. Balthamael is another Forsaken. He is another one that shows up at the start. Again, not much influential. I think I'll put it together with Aguinar because not really much to talk about. Bashir, he is the father of Fail. He helps Rand throughout a lot of his journey. I think he is quite a good character, especially when we are introduced to also his wife and suddenly we see the interaction they have and how Fail really mimics a lot that. I'm gonna put him probably above Valudra, probably above Androl. No, yeah, okay, it's decided it's gonna be there. Bilal, another one of the Forsaken, another one that has a very short appearance. I mean, he only shows up in the Stone of Tear. He doesn't have a big role. So I think, again, I'm going to put him maybe below Asmodean, but above Agino. But yeah, that's pretty much, I think he's very low. A lot of the Forsaken are really just pawns for one book, especially at the start of the series. They're just representing one evil guy that gets defeated and we kind of don't really talk more about him. Berelaine is our seductress and she has a very fun role. I think she is very funny in the way she is represented. I think her turning towards Gawain or Galad, Galad, I keep confusing both. But when she turns to Galad and starts falling in love, I think it's very funny when she completely changes. I think it was a bit fast, especially towards the end, but I like her as a character, especially her interactions with Aiel and with Karen, and I'm gonna put her probably on A. Birgitta, so she is one of the heroes of the legends, and she eventually becomes Elaine's orbit. She is good. I think towards the slog, I think she was becoming a bit annoying for me because her losing the memories. I'm being a bit insensitive. She was losing her memories and she was losing her sense of self, and I'm saying, oh, she was a bit whiny. But you get what I mean. I think it was just not really connecting much with her, especially when we have so many other good characters. But I think she plays a good role. Towards the end, of course, every one of these characters has a big role and they are done very well. I'm gonna put her together with Verlaine, but I like her less than Verlaine, so I'm gonna put her below. Gareth Bryn, a character that I didn't really care much at the start, and towards the end is one of the characters that I was like had a good interaction. I was like, yep, we're mates. We can just be okay with each other. I like him. His death was very sad, together with Swan's. I'm gonna put him probably on the B tier, definitely below Alana. Yeah, I think this is good. Cat Swain. On my first read of Wheel of Time, Cat Swain was my favorite Aes Sedai. On my reread, it decreased a tiny bit. I still think she is an amazing Aes Sedai. I just think that she was a bit too arrogant, and of course she pays for that. But I could also see that she was really, really trying to help Rand, and Rand wasn't seeing it because, I mean, Rand was paranoid, Rand was afraid, Rand was feeling everything. But Cat Swain was a really well-done character and a good replacement of Moiraine. So I'm gonna put her SS or S. I think I'm gonna keep her as SS, my first SS here. Okay. Alright, Couladin. Couladin is one of the Aiel that fights against Rand and is very bitter about Rand being the Karkarn, and he doesn't really represent much beyond that. I think he is a bit... Yeah, no, he's less than Asmodean for sure. I think he's probably over there, yeah. Yeah, okay. Sindain, which is Lanfear Reborn. I mean, it's very hard to distinguish Lanfear from Sindain, even though, of course, they are at different times, but in the end, they are still the same person. However, I think Sindain is slightly worse than Lanfear, especially towards the end, where I feel like she was a bit reckless in the way that she acted, and it doesn't really match with how I would see Lanfear. And she also seems a bit less cunning, a bit less strategic, and I feel like Lanfear was good, Lanfear Sindain not as good. But otherwise, she's still a good character. I think she's still probably in the A tier. I'm gonna put her between Verlaine and Birgitta. Now, Demon Dread, another one of the Forsaken. I think this one is one that has probably one of the most developments, and especially if you read the short stories that are not canon. But I think it was done really well, especially that last book where he is really there and really trying hard to kill Bran and to kill everyone. He was really done well, and I think this is one of the best Forsaken. So I'm gonna put him, above Verlaine for sure, but easy below. I don't have many slots for S and SS, so maybe I'm gonna keep him here, but he has potential to go up. Now, Flynn, who's another Ashaman that healed stealing independently from Nynaeve. I think he was okay, not really an amazing character. He was there, he did something really good. He showed up a couple more times. He was okay, probably less than Aludra, I would say. Now, Domon, the ship captain that eventually married Sean Chen, he is okay. He was funny. He really represented a wise side of the Sean Chen, or an advisor to the Sean Chen, let's say. But aside from that, again, not really a big character per se. I'm actually gonna flip this. I'm gonna put Domon here, Flynn here. Yeah, I think this is more balanced. Egyanin, who is the one that married Domon. She is Sean Chen that eventually turned coats and became, or she kind of didn't really, because she then eventually goes back, but she went through a journey, and I think her journey was interesting to see a Sean Chen perspective, aside from Tuon that we had, and she's better than Domon, I feel. I think she will go Ooh, probably, yeah, she's better than Olivia, I feel. Okay, so yeah, I think she's good. Egwene, now, this is very obvious for me. This goes to DSS because Egwene is my favorite character of all time. I love her journey. I do admit that on my rereads, Egwene at the start was a bit annoying, but once she goes to the White Tower, everything is just rising. And those last books, when she's trying to regain control of the tower, it's just perfect. I love that arc and I love her ending. It's very sad, but I think it's one of the best endings in fantasy whatsoever. I think her death is still marked and it will always be marked as one of the most shocking for the first time I read it, but also one of the most beautiful and epic deaths in fantasy. Now, Elida. Elida is another character that I love her arc. I love how she descends from thinking she has all this control, all this power, and she keeps losing it and keeps trying to grasp at it and failing. And I think that was done very well, especially because you see this trade-off as Egwene raises in power, Elida starts declining, and you see how Elida is just descending also into chaos and madness and sadness in the end. I think her arc was very well done. I'm gonna give her an S, probably below Abena. Now Elaine. Elaine is one of the main characters that I don't really like that much. I think she's very annoying, especially when she's pregnant, and she's just reckless left, right, and center. But I must admit, she has a good role. I mean, she's one of Bran's wives, and she takes control, especially when she's in Endor and she's trying to take control of Camelin and trying to really own and be like her mother and everything. It was well done. Not my favorite arc, but I can see that it was well done. I'm gonna put her below Elida though. Elias. Elias was a character that helped Perrin quite a lot in several parts of the series at the first book and then middle and towards the end. Aside from that, he doesn't really have a big role. I'm gonna put him maybe below Ganon probably, yeah. I mean, he maybe. Oh no, I think for now this is yeah. Fail. Fail is another character that I think is very toxic, but she kind of became a bit better for me on the reread, although I still think she is very toxic. And it's funny to read, and when I comment with my friends, it's very polarizing. People really like Fail or people really hate Fail and think she is toxic. I'm on that side, but I think her character is funny at the same time, even though it represents bad things. But she really tries to bring the best in Perrin towards the end of the series. So for that, I'm gonna keep her on A, definitely above Verlaine, otherwise Fail would kill me if I put her below. Galad. Galad is a character that I think I like what he represents. I think it was very almost a caricature of being too extremely morally good, but I think his slight transformation and realizing that absolute moral good doesn't really exist and that what he thought was the absolute morally good isn't really that good, and there are things that aren't that white or black, and there's a lot of shades of gray, and his understanding of that was a good journey to have. I think he is probably on the A. I'm gonna put him now below Fail. Nah, yeah, below Fail. Gaul. Gaul is a character that, I mean, he's one of the Aiel that is on Perrin's side most of the time. He helps him in several things. He doesn't really have a big role aside from that, and I'm gonna put him probably on D, but yeah, above Flame. Gawain. Gawain is another character that annoys me as hell because he just thinks he knows everything, especially when Egwene is my favorite character, and I just wish that Egwene would be just like, shut up and do what I say. But anyways, it's just I'm being very involved in this. Gawain is okay, I'm gonna say. He doesn't really grow that much aside from the last book, and even then he makes a lot of stupid decisions. I'm gonna keep him below Galad because I don't like below. I think even below all of these. No, maybe not Gareth Breen. Yeah, I think I'm gonna keep him there. I don't like him that much, but I mean, he still has a good role. But anyways, Grendel is one of my favorite Forsaken. I think she does her role very well in the sense that she is very strategic. She thinks of a lot of things ahead. In the end, she still fails to get what she wants, and she will descend into a state that is another character here, and we shall talk about it. But I think as Grendel, she is great. I think she is probably on the I like her more than Dean Andres for sure. Do I like her to put her below Elaine? Not for now. And Hessalam. Hessalam is Grendel reborn when she is completely old and the opposite of what she always wanted to be, which is so poetic that she became that. And her ending is also tragic, beautiful in a very distorted way, but I like the little that she shows up. I think it's very powerful. And again, it's one of those sad descents into madness that you kind of are happy that it happens, but at the same time, you do feel sorry for them. So I'm going to put her in the B tier, but I'm going to put her below Alviarin. Huron is the sniff thief catcher guy that helps Nynaeve and Elaine, and he doesn't really play much of a role. He shows up, he then eventually disappears. I'm gonna put him in D, probably below Gal. And Ingtar, another person from Shinar, I think, or one of the Northlands, and he helps at the start and towards the end of the books. Not big of a role as well. I'm gonna put him below here. Yeah, that sounds about right. Ishamael, one of my favorite Forsaken because of what he represents and also of his philosophy of why he turned to the shadow. I don't know if you know, Ishamael was a philosopher and he just simply rationalized that if the wheel keeps turning infinitely and every time it turns there is a battle between the Dark One and the people of the world, then eventually there will be one time where the Dark One wins. So we might as well just go into dark. And that was his logic. I think it's very logic, but also it's interesting to have someone that turned to the darkness not because they were ambitious, not because they aimed for something, but simply because they kind of rationalized through it. So I think he is probably one of my favorites of Forsaken. Yeah, I'm going to put him on tier A above Grendel. Hello everyone, just a mini pause here because I feel this video is huge and I only realized as I was editing it. So we're going to divide this video in two. The next one will come out next week. But for now, I hope you're enjoying it and I hope you're curious to see what the other half of the characters will place. But yeah, and if you're new, don't forget, subscribe, like your content, and I shall be seeing you on Thursdays and Sundays, okay? See you soon.